Nancy Guthrie, is she still alive? Welcome back to Missing Persons File Uncovered, the channel where we go beyond the headlines, dig into the details, and ask the questions that mainstream media is too afraid to ask. Today's case is one that has shaken an entire nation. A mother, a grandmother, an 84-year-old woman ripped from the comfort and safety of her own home in the middle of the night. Her name is Nancy Guthrie. And right now, as you listen to this, nobody knows where she is. So sit down, turn up the volume, because today we are going deep into this case. We're breaking down the timeline, we're addressing your questions from the comments, and we are going to talk about the details that are making investigators and the rest of us extremely uneasy. Let's get into it. Before we get into the crime itself, let's talk about who Nancy Guthrie is. Because behind every missing persons case is a real human being, and Nancy is no exception. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, one of the most recognizable faces in American television, a co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. Nancy lived in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona, a quiet, upscale neighborhood that most people would consider safe. The kind of neighborhood where you don't think twice about going to sleep at night. She was a woman living her life, quietly, peacefully. And then on February 1st, 2026, everything changed. Imagine being Savannah Guthrie. You wake up and find out your 84-year-old mother, your mother, has been ripped from her home, that there is blood at the scene, that someone came in the night and took her. That is the reality this family is living with every single day, that Nancy remains missing. And that reality should make all of us furious. Now let's talk about what we actually know about the night Nancy disappeared. February 1st, 2026, Catalina foothills, Tucson, Arizona. When authorities arrived at Nancy Guthrie's home, what they found was deeply disturbing. Bloodstains near the entrance of her home. Not a small amount, enough to send immediate alarm through investigators. DNA testing was conducted and came back with a chilling confirmation that blood belonged to Nancy Guthrie. This was not a case of an elderly woman wandering off. This was not a misunderstanding. From the very first moment investigators stepped foot in that home, they knew. She had been taken. And then came the ransom notes. Multiple ransom notes were discovered, each one demanding payment in cryptocurrency. Not cash, not a wire transfer, cryptocurrency. Now why is that significant? Because cryptocurrency is designed to be difficult to trace. Whoever wrote those notes knew exactly what they were doing. This was not impulsive. This was planned. 2 deadlines came and went, and still no Nancy. But perhaps the most spine-chilling piece of evidence, the doorbell camera footage. A masked figure, gloves, a backpack, moving with purpose. Investigators described this person as approximately 5'9" to 5'10" tall, average build with a black mustache visible beneath the mask. Someone came to that house prepared. Someone came knowing exactly what they were going to do and exactly who they were going to take. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos was direct about it. He said this was a targeted kidnapping. Whoever did this knew who Nancy Guthrie was. They knew where she lived. They knew when to strike. This was not random. And now we get to the questions you have been flooding our comments with. And this first one. This is the question that is on everybody's mind. Is Nancy still alive? Given how easy and uncertain the border to Mexico really is. Let me paint you a picture. Tucson, Arizona. The city sits less than 60 miles from the Mexican border. 60 miles. In a car on a desert road in the middle of the night, that is less than an hour away. And that border, despite every effort from law enforcement, it is vast. It is difficult to monitor. And people and vehicles cross through remote areas every single day without detection. The FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, felt it necessary to reach out to Mexican authorities in connection with this case. Now investigators have been careful to state that there is no confirmed evidence Nancy was taken across that border. But let's think about that for a second. When the FBI calls Mexico, that tells you something. That tells you the possibility is real enough to pursue. That tells you investigators are not ruling it out. And here is where it gets even more complicated. If Nancy was taken across that border, the jurisdiction of American law enforcement ends. The ability to conduct a rapid, coordinated search becomes infinitely more difficult. Communication between agencies, legal frameworks, physical geography, all of it becomes a barrier between Nancy and the people trying to find her. Was she really taken to Mexico? We don't know, but the question is not paranoia. The question is geography. The question is logic. And it is one that every person following this case deserves to have answered. Now, I need you to really listen to this next segment, because this is the detail that hit our comment section like a shockwave, and it is the detail that, if true, makes every passing hour critical. One of you asked, and I'm going to read this exactly as it was written. What happened after her pacemaker got disconnected in Mexico? Now, before we go further, we want to be absolutely transparent with you. This detail has not been officially confirmed by law enforcement or verified by major news outlets. We are presenting this as a question being raised by our community, not as confirmed fact. But here is why this question matters. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. At 84, the human body is fragile in ways that a younger person simply does not have to think about. Many people at that age rely on medical devices, pacemakers, insulin pumps, medications that must be taken on a strict schedule, just to keep their heart beating, just to get through the day. A pacemaker regulates the heart. Without it functioning properly, the consequences can be swift, and they can be fatal. Now imagine if Nancy Guthrie has a pacemaker, if she was taken across a border, if she is being held somewhere remote, somewhere without access to medical care, somewhere where no doctor is coming to check on her. What happens then? This is not a question designed to cause panic. This is a question designed to highlight the urgency of this situation. Because if there is any medical component to Nancy's condition, and we are not confirming that there is, then this is not just a race against the will of her captors. It is a race against her own body. And that changes everything. Law enforcement needs to know this. The public needs to understand this. And anyone out there who has any information about where Nancy Guthrie is being held needs to understand. Every single hour counts. So where does the investigation stand right now? A reward of over $200,000 has been offered for information leading to Nancy or her captor. That includes a $100,000 reward from the FBI and an anonymous donation of another $100,000. Someone out there cares deeply enough about finding Nancy that they gave 6 figures anonymously. Let that sink in. 2 individuals have been detained and questioned by authorities. Both were released without charges, which means investigators are still searching, still piecing together the puzzle, still chasing leads that have not yet led them to Nancy. And the ransom notes, those cryptocurrency demands, those deadlines that came and went, what does that mean for Nancy now? When a kidnapper's deadline passes and payment hasn't been made, what happens next? That is a question nobody wants to answer out loud, but it is one that investigators are certainly thinking about. The masked figure on that doorbell camera is still unidentified. Someone out there knows who that person is. Someone out there has seen that build, that mustache, that walk, and they may not even realize what they know. That is why public awareness matters. That is why channels like this one matter. Because sometimes the tip that breaks a case wide open comes from the most unexpected place. I want to take a moment to acknowledge something. This community, you have been incredible in this case. The comments on our Nancy Guthrie videos have been pouring in. Thousands of you sharing theories, sharing concern, sharing outrage. And I want to address the overall feeling I'm seeing across those comments, because it reflects something important. People are scared, not just for Nancy, but for what this case represents. The idea that an 84-year-old woman in a quiet, upscale neighborhood can be targeted, taken from her own home in the dead of night and simply vanish, that is terrifying. That shakes people at a fundamental level. Because if it can happen to Nancy Guthrie, it can happen to anyone. Many of you are also frustrated. Frustrated that weeks have passed. Frustrated that 2 people were brought in and released without charges. Frustrated that despite a massive reward, despite FBI involvement, despite national media attention, Nancy is still out there somewhere. And that frustration, it is valid, it is righteous, and it should be channeled into action. Share this video, share Nancy's story, keep her name alive in the conversation. Because the moment the public stops talking about a missing person is the moment the pressure on investigators starts to ease. We cannot let that happen. So what do we do now? What happens next in this case? First, if you have any information, any at all, a face that matches that description, a vehicle you saw near the Catalina foothills on the night of February 1st, a conversation you overheard, anything that felt off, felt wrong, felt like it didn't quite fit. Contact the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Contact the FBI. Do it today. Do it right now if you have to. A reward of over $200,000 is waiting for the information that brings Nancy home. Second, share this video. Share it on every platform you have, because awareness saves lives. The more people who know Nancy's face, know her story, know the details of this case, the higher the chances that someone somewhere recognizes something. Third, stay with us. This case is not over. We are not done covering it. Every update, every development, every new piece of information that comes to light, we will be here to break it down for you. Right here on Missing Persons File Uncovered. Nancy Guthrie is somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother. She is 84 years old and she deserves to come home. She deserves justice. She deserves safety. And she deserves a community of people who refuse to forget her name. That community is you. Thank you for listening to Missing Persons File Uncovered. If this episode moved you, if it angered you, if it motivated you, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because we are not going anywhere and neither is this case. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and never stop searching.